Hello everyone, I'm Professor Geek. Welcome back to the channel. And I just realized I don't have the right pair of glasses on. I have to go find the clearer pair in a second. But welcome to the book study, the Star Wars EU book study. Finally coming back for another installment of Red Harvest, which should be a good one tonight. We've got chapters 21 through 30, so it'll be fun. Let's see, I do make sure my audio is coming through there. Looks good. Welcome to those in the chat and those who are going to be popping in here now that we're live. But yeah, it's been a week, so I'm going to try to do my best and remember what's been going on. And, these 10 chapters, because I haven't touched them since I was prepared for them last week. And I know it's probably the same thing true for Mr. Al Baca, our guest host. Speaking of which, it's about time I introduced him. So with me, as always, in these studies, my ever sidekick, Mr. Al Baca. Say hi, Al Baca.
We mean wrong pair of glasses.
I have a couple pairs. This one is my knock about the house pair because it's chipped and the lenses are a little scratched sometimes, So I've got a nice pair that, like, when I'm doing some proper reading or I'm going out or whatever, I'll wear too. So
yeah, vanity.
And the fact that the lenses are scratched, if I'm going to be doing a lot of reading, I want to not have to,
sure, whatever,
do that. So I'll slip away in a second and do that. But how have you been?
I'm okay, doing okay. I'm hoping I remember what happened in the book. It's been a while.
It has been a while.
But other than that, everything,
But I mean, it hasn't been like ages or anything.
Nah, well, we missed the week, so it's been a week and a half since I've read it. So
Al's like, he's always going to find a way to tell me how he's upset because he messed up the schedule.
Did I say I was
supposed to be here?
Did I say I was upset? I did not say I was upset.
It was in a passive aggressive manner.
I simply said that I hope I remember what happened.
Because it's been so long.
Because someone canceled the last show.
Oh boy. Let's see how we're doing here on. Oh, I hear your cricket. I think your cricket's back.
No.
Oh, it must have been something squeaking or something. I thought it was your cricket in the back there a second, but maybe not.
I got AC on. That's about it. Well, fan, but that's about it.
I do want to show off something quickly before we start. I got this in the mail today. I'm pretty excited about it. It's a purchase that these are hard to find in terms of the Star Wars EU. Some things are being re-released. Disney is actually re-releasing them in like Legends collections, some of the old comics and everything, but you've got that stupid Legends banner. On the plus side, you get them in hardback, but they've got that awful Legends banner. I don't know if this is actually released in any of the Legends banners, though. This is hard to find. So I've been looking forward to different studies that we'll do eventually. And, I'm also doing gaming streams and stuff like that. And I thought it would be cool eventually to go through Shadows of the Empire, not just the book, but, the cool thing about that is you had the book, the game, and the comics all telling a different aspect of the story. So it was quite a big event. It was really cool. And I do have the game, the game for the Nintendo 64. I went ahead and even bought an old used Nintendo 64, which is the crappiest game system in the world, but whatever. I got the book, of course. The audiobooks, Al, when we do get to that one, they're only available in a bridge. I don't know why. That's so stupid. Why would anybody abridge an audiobook? That's the dumbest thing in the world. But the comics were always so hard to find. You could spend a lot of money buying the individual issues. And you could buy the omnibus, but the omnibus was kind of pricey. I finally found it at a price that I was kind of comfortable paying. This is the Star Wars Omnibus Shadows of the Empire. And this includes more than just the initial run of those initial Shadows of the Empire comics, because this one also includes the Mara Jade by the Emperor's Hand comic, which was the Timothy Zahn comic that he tacked on, which was part of this story as well. So it actually includes really the whole story from the where it's issued in the comics in those days. So I'm pretty excited to have it.
Shadows of the Empire, that's one with Prince Shizor, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that happens between Empire and Return of the Jedi.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it was really cool.
It was like the first official officially canon recognized thing from George Lucas, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. It was the first new George Lucas completely 100% sanctioned story that came out.
Ooh,
And it was
nice.
around the time of the re-release of the original trilogy, I think, before the prequels were coming about, I think, if I remember correctly. So yeah, it was pretty cool. So check in with the chat and welcome some folks here. Let's see, you mind turning your volume down too much there?
I do want to ask really quickly though, how is the young one? Is she all
She's
healed
good.
up?
She's much, much better. She's totally no traces of ear infections anymore. Yep,
That's
running
awesome.
around like a nut. Yep, thank you very much. Appreciate that. She is good. Let me switch over to the live chat from Top Chat so I can make sure I have everybody. Looks like I have Brian Gilmartin is our first who is here tonight. So it's been a while since I've been to one of these. Well, it's been a while since we do one of these, as Al will tell you.
Actually, Daniel Heron was first.
Oh, Daniel Heron was first. Okay.
I saw when I checked earlier, his name was at the top.
Okay, I had to refresh, so it must have clicked off. But welcome, Daniel, if you're still around.
Yeah, they kind of wipe out after a while.
Yeah. Melissa Harrison Sons, welcome. Autobot Megatron, Zetopia. I'll never get used to just saying Zetopia. I'm just always going to be Jedi Master in my mind.
I'm just wondering what led to his demasterization.
I know. Did you embrace the dark side? Did you leave the Order, Zetopia? What's going on?
Well, he's not Darth Zetopia, so
that's right. Yeah, we better not see that. Samuel Proctor, welcome. Tom Spiegel, good to see you there. Also has Shadows of the Empire score by John McNeely. Oh, that's right. There, yeah. I forgot all about the score. I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, there was a score too. I'm gonna have to look for that now. I'm such a completionist when it comes to collecting. Yeah, so all right. Well, let's go ahead and we'll dig in a second. I am gonna cut my mic for a second and go grab my glasses. So if Al wants to, he can try to catch us up on what happened or where we are if he remembers it all.
Oh, I was going to just wonder if everybody had caught my my review video of Godzilla versus Kong, which I released last week. Of course, I'm so happy I saw that movie, and the first standalone video I'd done in a while that wasn't a stream. So I hope everyone's had a chance to get there and enjoy that. But yeah, right now there is a rampant at the Sith Academy here. There is a rampant flower-based zombification going on, and it's spreading amongst the students and the faculty. And
indeed,
that's kind of where we're at now. And there are a few Sith students that are kind of in their own little separate storyline, and of course, what's her face, Hestizo?
Yeah, Hestizo.
Hestizo is right now teamed up with the I can remember
the Whippet.
Yeah, the Whippet. Yeah. So we kind of got like the two storylines going on, and also her brother has landed, so he's on planet. So
yeah, so you covered some of the you covered most of the cliffhangers that we left off of. So Hestizo's brother is searching through for the Force, and he has traced her. He's an actual Jedi warrior. He's not just a Jedi botanist like she was. He's an actual warrior, a Jedi lightsaber duelist and whatnot. And he is traced her there to the planet. The Darth Scabrous, the one who's behind all of these experiments and everything, who started this whole zombie thing with the Murakami orchid, he is been bitten by Nictor, that first student that he turned into a zombie. So he's been bitten in the face. So he does have the sickness in him, but he's got this transfusion of fresh blood. So he's trying to finish out whatever we don't know yet. Whatever
it's like I'm just wondering, does he know what he's doing, or is he trying something, or
we don't really know yet. We don't know what his plans are.
Yeah, it's like because it doesn't seem like it's going very well.
Well, he also doesn't seem too bothered by the fact that this virus is in him. He's just kind of staving it off with this fresh blood so that he can achieve something before it takes him completely. So we don't really know what that is yet.
Because I think I'm pretty sure he believes that the plant, the orchid, there's some property in it that will make him almost immortal and have all this extra power.
Mm-hmm.
But it does have a little different side effect that I think he's trying to figure out.
We don't know yet. We don't know exactly what he's trying to figure out.
I'm just saying it's a theory. I mean, it's a theory that he's gotten in over his head, basically.
The scenario that you're describing there is what Lusk has figured out. We'll talk about that. Did we already get to that part, or did we talk about that already? Lusk, the kind of the star student when he was
when he stands up, when he stood up on and wanted to be. I think
come on and take me. That's the very last
I think
words
that
we
was
read.
that was the last. That was the last thing.
Yeah. So we've got Lord Scabrous, with this mystery of what's going on with him. Hestizo's brother, what's his name again? Rojo Trace is on his way to try and save her. As Al mentioned, Hestizo herself had been delivered there by this bounty hunter, Tulka the Whipped, and then he took off. But the Whipped came back for some reason and has rescued Hestizo from one of the students was about to haul her in and capture her again. And this Whipped has saved her from that, and we don't know why. He wants to show her something, he says. So we're going to find out what's going on here. And then the last one, the last mystery is these Sith students, as Al alluded to already. A few of them are sort of teaming up, as much as Sith can team up. They're all each are out for themselves. But we've got the one who was I'm forgetting some of the names here. Who's the one that challenged Lusk? Ra'at? Was that Ra'at?
Ra'at. Yeah, I think it was Ra'at.
Okay. Ra'at was one who had challenged Lusk, and they saw the zombies fall from the tower. Then there was the girl. I'm blanking on her name too. I'll come to it when I come into some future chapters here. But the one who was studying in the library when all this madness happened. And then you got a couple others that they kind of meet up with.
Kendra.
Thank you. Yeah, Kendra. Do look like I got a super chat here from Daniel Heron. Thank you very much, sir. $2 says, do you not have the Shadows of the Empire soundtrack? No, I do not. I do not have the Shadows of the Empire soundtrack. So, that is the last little piece of the Shadows of the Empire puzzle that I'll need to acquire for the collection for the Star Wars EU library that I'm trying to build and curate for generations to come.
You will be the great curator. Sorry, that's a Doctor Who thing, if anybody remembers.
Yeah, that means that's subpar.
It's Matt Smith years.
Oh, so chapter 21, here we have Trace landing. This is
the brother.
Yeah, the brother, Rojo Trace. He's landing. He sees, what's going on. He's walking around. It's really not much goes on in the chapter. But again, in terms of pacing, when you just left that horrific scene of the zombies attacking the mess hall, pretty much, and the scene of Lusk slitting his wrists on the table, going, "Come at me," and stuff. So kind of an intense scene. Let's give us just a moment to breathe here with just a short chapter of Hestizo's brother landing and taking in, what the place is and walking around. We'll see what happens with him in a moment.
Who has a particular set of skills?
That's right. He has a very special set of skills. So chapter 22, and Al, you slow me down or stop me if I skip over anything you want to mention or bring up.
Okay.
But now we go back to Hestizo and Tulka. Hang on. Daniel wants me to... Another super chat. Thank you so very much. Says you never fail to disappoint. It's heading your way. Well, dang, dude, you don't have to... Both $2 and a CD of that. Man, you're awesome. Thank you very much, sir. I'll disappoint you more often. So chapter 22, we pick back up with Hestizo now with Tulka, the Whipped. And if you remember, let me just for the sake of people, it's been a little while. Let me give you the image of the Whipped again. They're these large creatures. They got huge tusks. They do look like a
Wookiee crossed with a boar.
Yeah. I was going to say a Wookiee on steroids, but I think that's a better way of putting it. Wookiee crossed with a boar. Yeah, it's kind of there we go. So these are this is a Whipped. That's a silly costume. This is the picture of Tulka himself, from this book. So really brutal, scary. I mean, they're like Wookiees. They're spacefaring races. They've got repulsor lifts. They got all this technology and stuff, but they still hold to the very primitive rituals. Like he hunts with a spear and bow and arrow and stuff, rather than a blaster and whatnot. So that is the Whipped.
They kind of, like I said, you kind of think he's a bad guy, but now they've really done a 180 on him, and you're not really quite sure.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of like that. I think that's a good story element.
I mean, he's you never have any illusions that he's suddenly a hero or a good guy.
Well, no. Yeah, he's
not just the Predator. He's not just two-dimensional appetite or something. He's got some depth to him.
Farscape fans, he's kind of like Scorpius.
Nice. Yeah, nice. I like that. Good analogy. Yeah. Yeah, Chris P. There's a Whippet from Jabba's palace. That was actually one of the pictures there that was shown when I was just showing the image search there. You could see the Whippet there. It was in Jabba's palace as well. And also a Whippet in Tartakovsky's Clone Wars. Yeah, exactly. All right. I feel a sneeze coming on.
Let it flow.
It's the weirdest thing. It's like if I just kept talking and ignored it, it definitely would have come. But if I sit here and wait for it like an idiot, it won't. So
yeah, I know exactly what you mean, man. I know exactly what you mean.
All right, we're gonna go ahead with it. What Tulka brings Hestizo to see is, if you remember, Nictor had fallen from the tower, was attacking Lusk and Ra'at. Ra'at actually managed to be up on this kind of cliff. He scrambled up onto this cliff, and then some fallen rocks were there, and he was using the force to kind of pin or hurl these rocks at Nictor, who was trying to come after him. So Nictor's trapped. He's this zombie, slathering around and whatever, but his legs are trapped, or one of his legs trapped by the rocks anyway. So Tulka came across this zombie creature, and he shows it to Hestizo. It's really weird. Again, what are Tulka's motives here? He could have left. Maybe not. Maybe he saw this going on and figured he could have been,
is recognizing the danger of,
or maybe
for people off planet, perhaps. Mm-hmm. I don't know.
Oh, that's reading a little bit of altruism into it.
Well, I don't know.
I mean, I'm not, maybe, but at the very least, I was going to say he does recognize there's a threat going on here. Maybe there's more of that between him and his ship. So at the very least, he goes to find her so she can explain to him what's going on, so that maybe he can know how to fight this. And she does explain what little bit she knows, because she knows about the Murakami orchid. She has no idea it could, cause this zombie virus or whatever. And it's a pretty intense little chapter. Again, I don't know if we talked about this a lot. I think we alluded to it, that what Scriber is doing in this book is he's using these short little chapters when things get really tense. When we finally get the horrific things happening, the action's ramped up. It's like jump cutting in a horror film. You don't stay on any one angle or perspective too long, and that gets you off your center because you don't know where's the monster, what's coming next. That's what he's doing with these short little chapters. So this chapter ends with Nictor calling out and Hestizo realizing, or the orchid, I think, tells Hestizo, because the orchid can still communicate with Hestizo through the force. She says it's calling them. The orchid's voice broke through in her mind, summoning them up here, Hestizo. So it's calling more zombies to come help it attack Tulka and Zoe.
Mm-hmm. But I like that what you said there about the jump cuts in a horror film. And I watched one yesterday called Dawn of the Beast, and all I have to say is dope. But well, it was all right. I might do a video. I doubt it though. But there are several creatures in it, and all these attacks are going at the same time. So there are a lot of like, okay, you're upstairs with this one, then you switch, boom, then you're here with another one. It's like because so much was going on at one time, they had to keep changing that perspective all the time. Mm-hmm. And that's what I could see that they're doing with these chapters.
Yeah, exactly. Now, that being said, chapter 23, Low Boy here, gets us to, it starts to stretch out a little bit more. because good pacing in a story is as it is in a movie, like Al says, if you got the audience on the edge of their seats, you can't just leave them there on the edge, because then the adrenaline just starts to kind of get used to it or fade out. You got to kind of ease them back and bring them back, ease them back and bring them back. And that's what chapter 23 does with this a little bit, because now we get more of the grouping of these Sith students. So Kendra, as Al said, Kendra and Ra'at are already kind of met up there. Then let's see, Hartwig and Mags are the other two they run into. What are you doing down here? Hartwig asked. He frowned at Ra'at. Dag, man, what happened to your arm? Because remember, Ra'at just barely escaped both Lusk and the zombies. Training accident, Ra'at said evenly. Hartwig smirked. Fail. Meaning what? Meaning that, Hartwig pointed at the wound. Doesn't look like any training accident I ever saw. What did you do? Fall on a vibroblade or something? I was in the pain pipe, right? Told Max, that their Jedi training facility, or Sith training facility. The dialogue's quite well done. The dialogue is, you're faced with a difficult task there. How do you write Sith teenagers on another world from a time that even predates the original trilogy? Well, you write them like teenagers from any time. That's the first and foremost the rule. You can't invent, or people need to relate in this day and age. So you write them as though they're teenagers, and then you put in things from their situation. So I was in the pain pipe, stuff like that, and the fact that they're Sith, they're not going to have a lot of compassion or empathy for each other.
Yeah, it's like each one is waiting to screw over the other three.
It's true, yeah. This uneasy alliance is just each one of them waiting to, or seeing how they can better use the others.
Survivor Sith Academy.
So they decide to find. They're walking around together. Ra'at finally kind of comes clean with them and tells them, because I think it's is it Mags or Hartwig? They decide to leave. Like, they're not really interested. There's no big deal. There's nothing going on. And Ra'at finally has to kind of come clean and tell them, no, something is going on, and tell them a little bit about what he saw with Nictor, and to get them to agree that they need to stick together, if any of them have a chance of making it.
And also, they think it might be a drill by Lord Scabras, who's been known to throw very not so easy things at his students. I think what the last one was, I just saw here, were Unaki ice spiders. Yeah. It's like 11 students went blind, 2 of them died.
Yeah, it's an intense school to go to, that's for sure.
Just a drill.
They come across this this is a really creepy scene when you kind of envision it. They come across this droid, and Rod has the idea to take it apart and look into its memory banks to see what it just saw recently, because it rolled in from the top. And it says they all stood back looking at it, pale, reflecting off their faces, none of them speaking. At first, Rod didn't quite realize what he was seeing. Mags was the first to break the silence. He sounded hoarse, as if he was still trying to whisper but needed to clear his throat. What is that? Nobody answered. The hologram showed an area somewhere deep inside the tunnels where an indistinct mob of figures was teeming, not quite randomly in the foreground. From their uniforms, Rot realized that they were Sith acolytes. But there was something wrong about the way their bodies moved. A jolting, uneven pace, and he couldn't see their faces. From this angle, it was impossible to tell how many they were. All he could see was that they were hunched together, working over what looked like a massive pile of debris, shoving and piling and dropping it into place in the corridor ahead of them. Within just a few moments, the pile in the tunnel had grown noticeably higher. The light on the other side was narrowing to a thin band. What are they doing? Mags asked. Rot's voice was a non-specific whisper. Building a wall. Maybe it's some kind of barricade, Hartwig said, so they can hold off whatever's out there. He caught his breath. It must be... Look, Rot pointed at the hologram. The angle's changing. Maybe they've got weapons we can use. Mags was sounding excited now. Yeah, look, that one's got a lightsaber. He was already heading up into the direction that the droid had come. Let's move. Wait, Rot said. What? Mags turned around, frowning. What's wrong? Rot was still looking at the hologram. The droid had broadened its field of view, dumping on bandwidth, and the image's signal to noise ratio had improved dramatically. Now the blue light cone showed a huge mob of bodies, dozens of them, more than he could even count, crammed together in front of the barrier. It looked like half the students at the academy were packed into that part of the tunnel. Rot pointed, their faces. Max came back, hardly paying attention. I don't see what, he said, and stopped. Oh no. Several of the Sith students in the hologram were turning and looking directly back at the droid. Their faces were slack and vacant, devoid of any emotion. It was the exact same way that Nictor had looked up on the top of the overhang. Ra'at saw that some of them had wounds on their faces and necks, and their uniforms were badly torn, hanging from their torsos like bloody sails. He watched as one of them, a student whose name he couldn't remember, brought his face directly up to the droid's holocam, a sly grin peeling over his lips. Like Nictor, Ra'at remembered, and felt Kendra stiffen next to him in the peripheral vision. Hartwig said, "What?" "There's light on the other side of that barricade," Ra'at said, "but that's it." "So what are they doing?" Ra'at looked back at him. "They're walling us in." Really gruesome image. They're taking the dead bodies of the students and piling them up to a big meat wall so that they could trap the living students they know are still in the tunnel so that they can go get them. And they realize that they're coming for them.
Very 300.
Yeah. Just, and then the image too at the end of this is a recording, so it's not like a live camera, but still the fact that one student staring into the droid, almost like he knew that they'd be watching or something, with that grin on his face. Ugh. That's just creepy stuff. So that brings us to chapter 24. Now we're back with Histizo. Yeah, and the Whippet and Tolka. The Nictor was calling. Remember, he was calling to more of the zombies. Excuse me. And they start to come. And the overwhelming number of zombies, well, they're going to free Nictor, and they're all going to kind of pile up on top of each other, trying to reach the height that Tolka and Zoe are at. Tolka is trying to fight. He's using his bow and arrow, even using his spear at one point when they're basically up upon them. And Histizo has the idea. It just comes to her. She doesn't really know what's going to happen, but she tells the orchid, because she can still communicate with the orchid that's somehow through the force just in the blood of these zombies. And she says, grow. I've got an idea, she told the orchid. Grow. What? And this is the orchid talking back to her through the force. You're in them now, she said, aren't you? You're a part of them. You said so yourself. Yes, but then grow. I can't don't argue with me. Just grow. So it might have been the last command, the desperate violence that stirred the orchid to action. So the orchid starts to grow. And then when we see what happens, an instant later, a thin green tendril began to wind itself out of the thing's right ear, out of the zombie's right ear, extruding a vine that grew steadily thicker as it looped downward. Another vine appeared inside its left nostril, then a third and a fourth. Stalks and runners were snaking busily out of both ears now, some of them bearing small clusters of leaves, others tiny black flowers. The corpse's mouth opened and another stalk, this one as big around as Zoe's finger, burst onward from its bloody throat. Histizo, this hurts me. Grow, she told it, grow, just keep growing, just grow. So that ends up saving their lives, basically. But then another zombie is upon her. She Nordit stares straight to the thing on Tolka's spear. So Tolka's got one on its spear, but still writhing. She thought the word again, thought it with such intensity and determination she could muster over and over in the smooth, solid thought wave. Grow, grow, grow. The corpse's entire cranial vault exploded in a colossal splat of red and black and green. It's pretty intense imagery. And the orchid at the same time, it's kind of sad because the orchid's saying, Histizo, please, it hurts. Don't make me do this. But, this is the only way that they can be saved. Eventually, one zombie pops up. Tolka dumped the thing with a brisk shoveling gesture, kicking it so hard it barrel rolled over the edge, then glanced back at Zoe. You did that? Me and the flower. You better do it again, the Whippet pointed over the edge of the overhang at the other things. They were still sprouting. Zoe saw, but not as quickly, clawing back upward toward them. Histizo, please, the orchid sounded weaker now. No more, not now, I can't, it hurts. You have to, Zoe said, unaware that she was speaking out loud. You have to do it, because if you don't, they're not going to stop. They're going to kill us. They're going to kill me. Do you understand? Sorry, so sorry, Histizo. And the the orchid just goes dormant for a while. It doesn't communicate with her anymore. So we know that it's not able to do this. So they get out of there. They get the heck out of there, obviously. It's the only thing they can do.
Yeah, it's like the flower passed out from the effort.
Yeah. that brings us to chapter 25, but just a lot of really cool images going on through here. Before we go any farther, just those scenes, and that's the thing. If you're going to write horror, horror is such a
visceral.
It's visceral. Now you can't just rely on the visceral, otherwise, then you just have a gore fest, and it's not. You don't really care about the story. That's like cheap horror films. They're just gore.
Right? Yeah, jump scares.
Yeah, you got to have the suspense. Suspense is key, and you can have suspense and no gore. Do something like Hitchcock. But if you're going to have horror and the gore, you certainly better have suspense to keep people in their seats and keep people invested in what's going on. And this showing that done quite well. Let's see. Chapter 25, we go back to Lord Scabrous. He's talking to his HK droid. Now, remember, we said he's got this HK droid who's basically working as an assistant, almost like a protocol droid, but just kind of a personal assistant. But we know that HK droids are actually assassin droids. We know that from Knights of the Old Republic and all the Old Republic comics and novels and whatnot. So we don't know why he's using a HK droid for this, but Scabrous is asking questions. He's getting the blood pack ready and everything. He's asking questions about where is Hestizo. HK crackles in the comm link. They got a basic sort of location for her, I believe. Our mid-range scout, the HK droid said our mid-range scout systems report that she and the Whippet bounty hunter are traveling together, headed northwest toward a tauntaun paddock in the near vicinity. They are still on foot and in probability seeking immediate cover from initial attack. So Scabrous is remember, the only thing that's kind of keeping him together at this point is summoning up all the hatred he can for Hestizo. He doesn't know her, but the fact that she's a Jedi and he's a Sith, he's just, latching onto that hatred to kind of get him through in terms of the dark side.
And they're on Tulka's ship, right? The Miracraw.
Yeah. He's gone to the Miracraw. He's gone to Tulka's ship to look for Hestizo to see if she's there. But then they find out, no, she's with the Whippet there. So the virus is spreading. Scabrous thought the apprentice Nictor of the thing that had once been Nictor, crawling out of its cage despite the fact that all vital signs registered negative. He thought about how the thing had lunged at him and then gone after Jura Ostrogoth, the appetite that the thing had brought to bear at that moment. Scabrous had assumed that what he'd seen was a kind of exaggerated nervous twitch, a biochemical accident that the drug and the orchid had triggered inside Nictor's body. But now, it seems to be spreading, sir, the HK had said. He began to reconsider. My lord, the droid prompted. Never mind that now, Scabrous said. I'm going directly to the library. There will be no more need for lasers. Hestizo Trace will meet me there personally, and we shall finish our business together, she and I, as it was meant to be. Have my own ship prepared for immediate departure afterwards. Yes, sir, but Scabrous cut off the transmission and strode toward the Miracraw's open hatch, down the landing ramp, and out into the snowy night. So Scabrous has got something planned. We don't know again, but just alluding to it. There was a tower that he initiated. That's what he talked about, these lasers and everything. He's kind of putting up some defenses, to try and slow them down. But he's going to go to the library. Now, remember, we do know that. What was the librarian's name? Al, do you remember? It was a Nettie. Nettie was the race he was. The kind of tree-like beings we talked about. And in particular, this Nettie has woven himself around the actual structure of the library himself to where he can't ever leave because he's just sort of grown throughout the crevices. This big, the wood of the Nettie is part of the wood of the building. But I forget the library's name. We'll find out that in a second. Going to chapter 26. Let me check with the chat to make sure I'm not ignoring anybody if they tag me on anything. Don't see anything. Oh, I do see Brian Gilmartin say this is like Star Wars meets Resident Evil. It is. That's the we talked a little bit about this in the beginning. Yeah, it's a tricky thing. How do you write a Star Wars novel, which is space opera genre? How do you merge that with something like the horror genre? Which, if you think, if you'd have thought of that just seeing the original trilogy, you think that's stupid. That's sacrilege. You can't do that. I think only at a time when the EU had progressed as much as it had to this point did it try different doors and stretch different ways to prove that the unities of the genre, in fact, the unities of the universe, the Star Wars EU universe itself, could withstand a telling of this genre, dalliance into this genre, if it's done correctly. You can't cross too many lines, and we see Scriber doing this. We're at a remote planet where, it's not like Luke Skywalker meeting a zombie or anything. We're at a remote planet, remote time.
The Nettie's name is Dallas.
Dallas. Okay, yeah, thank you. Chris B says George Romero would be proud of that scene. Yeah, indeed. Tom Spiegel says sounds like death. Zombies defeated by life. Planet that's slow on the uptake. Plant that's slow on the uptake. Yeah, exactly. And that's the dichotomy there. That I'm glad you pointed that out. And this starts to get us at a little bit of a theme, right? We've been talking about themes of so far. We pointed out the theme of community, or not community, but working together for the sake of yourself, an uneasy alliance like the Sith themselves. The Jedi selflessly trying to help each other, like Trace, Estizo's brother, trying to help her, or the zombie virus itself, a mindless kind of zombies are a great metaphor for something like communism or something like that. The mindless, all for the whole. The individual parts are disposable and whatnot. Yeah. So you add to that the idea of death and life, and where does life come from? Life itself, the plant. A plant is kind of like a higher organism, a communal kind of organism, but it's different than the zombie virus, and the difference is life and death. So we're going to see these things develop as we go through.
Yeah, with the virus being plant-based, I wonder if the Nettie has a special interaction with it.
We are going to see. We'll see. Mm-hmm. But I do want to stop and say hello to my dear, beautiful sound engraver. She says hi to her handsome prof and to her perpetual ball of sunshine, Al.
Aw, I like that.
He's all of our annoyingly perpetual ball of sunshine. But hello there. I know you're not listening because you're not into this kind of thing, but great to have you pop in and say hello. That's always nice.
That was so sweet. I have a smile on my face.
All right, so chapter 26. Chapter 26, we go back to Trace, our Hestizo's brother. Hestizo Trace, but Rojo Trace is his name, although the Scriber just basically calls him Trace. He's landed on this planet, and I'm not going to spend a lot of time on chapter 26. He encounters this Sith master there, not Lord Scabrous, but this Sith master. I think he was the weapons master.
Shockwith.
Shockwith, the blade master there. And, for all of your particular set of skills there, Rozier, Shockwith kind of wipes the floor with you. It's not, and I think that's like, why would you do that? Well, you've got this hero that you set up coming to maybe the hero can save the day. And so maybe the reader is thinking and their hopes are on Rojo, because he does a great job of tracking her there. He shows it to be very competent, strong in the Force, and competent as a tracker, but not really competent of a warrior here in this first lightsaber duel that we see him. So,
well, he is.
His face. Go ahead.
Well, he is going against a blade master. I mean, he's going with someone that is their skill.
Yeah, true. Yeah,
he's probably very competent with a lightsaber, but not in the same way that Shockwith is.
Yeah. Now he doesn't kill Rojo Trace. He doesn't kill Trace. But in fact, the only thing that saves Trace is a zombie student ends up attacking Shockwith and like pulls him through this crack in the wall, I think, or something like that. And so you've got Rojo himself. Trace is shaken to the point of, oh my gosh, there are people here that could handle me. I mean, I'm dealing with, as Al mentioned, blade masters, these Sith trainers who are quite, established in the ways of the Force and lightsaber training and whatnot. But also he gets a glimpse at this new threat of the zombies. So we've got, not only is our heroes arrived, the cavalry's arrived, so to speak, but readers are told that he might not be enough. So interesting,
Well, I do love this one sentence. The thing shoved its mouth back down into the ragged red cup that had once been Shockwith's right eye socket, slurping noisily.
You had to read that while I was taking a drink of water, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. Water tastes good there.
Oh, nasty. Chapter 27, we return to Zoe and Tulka. And they were, as the HK droid told Lord Scabrous they were on their way to the Tauntaun paddocks. And we get an interesting little scene. It's almost like what are you doing, Scriber? We know what a monster Tulka is, the Whippet, a bounty hunter. He's kidnapped Zoe. He's killed a bunch of people. He puts her on his ship, and he's got like body parts of people decomposing for trophies and stuff. He's wicked. And yet we have this like endearing little scene with him. It's like, oh, I don't know how to feel about this. It's weird. He's talking to a Tauntaun, and I'm trying to find the moment here. Well, first of all, Zoe tries to go into it to probe his mind with the Force a little bit, and she comes to this place where he's kind of locked down. This place, this secret place, and he ends up realizing that she's in her head. Get out of my head, Jedi! And he threatens to kill her if she ever goes there again. But I'm trying to think of it. The atmosphere here felt very still and long, undisturbed, almost as if it were hermetically sealed, and she wondered if she'd arrived to some part of Tulka's past that he himself rarely visited. So that's a cool way of giving him more depth too. He's not just kill, kill, kill. He's got reasons for it, at least. They end up going into the to the Tauntaun paddock. Tulka stopped off their right. She saw a row of stalls. Something inside one of the stalls was swinging itself around, chuffing out volumes of air. Listening, Zoe heard it let out a low, restless groan. There was a silence, then a sound of feet rustling, followed by a bronchial, squabbling honk. The Wicked replaced the arrow he had taken out and took a step forward. The thing inside the stall let out another nasal, braying squawk and thrust its long head outward. Its muzzle drew back, and Zoe saw two pairs of nostrils, large and small, flaring to let out another blast of moist breath. It swung its shaggy head sideways, its curved horns nearly gouging Tulka's face before he drew back. Are they Tauntauns? The Whippet made it sound as a bad word about somebody's mother. At least it explains the smet. A thick gobbet of spit hit him squarely in the face, and Tulka lunged forward, wiping it off, meeting the Tauntaun eye to eye. He and it were almost the same height. The snow lizard's lips were already working up another load of saliva. Zoe thought the thing actually looked like it was smirking at him, when Tulka abruptly broke into a grin. It was the first time Zoe had ever seen him express anything other than impatience and indifference, and the effect was disconcerting. Good girl, Tulka brushed one hand over its snout, ruffling the fur beneath one of its horns. I bet there's probably some mook fruit for you around here somewhere. Then glancing back at Zoe, his smile faded. What? If I'd known that spitting in your face was the key to your good graces, Zoe said, I would have done it a long time ago. Ignoring her, Tulka returned his attention to the creature. You're a foul old girl, aren't you? He said affectionately. I used to hunt with one like you back on Tula. He glanced at the thick hardness. Showing another little aspect of depth of his character. He's got a fondness for Tauntauns. Used to hunt with one. And a weird moment between Zoe and her captor, which is just, I don't even know what to make of that. It's funny and it's kind of endearing, but it's like, no, this guy's horrible. It's interesting writing. It's good. It makes you think. It makes you kind of, that's cool writing when you've got a character like Tulka, despicable, and yet you make the reader, okay, there's a little bit of a scene there. He is kind of sort of defending her, even though he's threatening her life at every other point too, so it's interesting. Right. It's good writing. They're walking down, the lights suddenly go out. They hear something spooks the Tauntauns. So and then suddenly the lights go out. They sense that they hear the scream of the zombies, which is terrifying. They hear this scream, and let's see. I'm trying to get to this right point here. At one point, all right, so yeah, okay. Tulka is leading her down this dark aisle. They hear the zombies. It's in the dark. They hear the zombies coming after them, and at one point, Zoe senses what's going to happen here through the Force. Gets almost like a Force vision here. So she swung one leg in front of Tulka's ankle, planted her foot, and felt him trip over it, tumbling sideways with a snarled curse into an empty Tauntaun stall to their immediate right. Zoe collapsed on top of him. The night vision that the Force had given her was already gone. She felt something long and smooth jabbing painfully against her cheek and realized later it must have been one of the Whippet's tusks. What? He snapped, and at this moment she took hold of him, squeezing hard, digging her fingers as hard as she could into the bounty hunter's scaly, sweaty, slick hide. In surprise, or maybe realization, he went quiet. The events of the next few moments weren't simply a matter of sound or smell, but some collusion of both sensory and extrasensory perception. With the force guiding her, Zoe realized that she could feel the stalls alongside them, still pitch black, filling with the nauseous stirring of many bodies packed closely together, piling past, searching. So they're searching for us. So see, they're hiding in one of the stalls. She held her breath. They couldn't move. Eventually, they passed him by. Beneath her, Tulka stirred, straightened, and shoved her off of him. If you ever do that again, I'll kill you myself. Zoe glanced off at the direction of the thing. Seems a bit redundant given the circumstances. I don't run and I don't hide. Listen, she said, what we saw what those things are. I can't fight them off, and neither can you. So for the moment, that leaves us with running and hiding. To her surprise, he didn't argue. So again, just the kind of meeting of minds. And it's interesting to juxtapose Zoe and Tulka and their sort of uneasy alliance with the uneasy alliance of the Sith children as well. And we'll get back to them in a moment. But it's what are the differences there? Well, the difference there is, one, you've got Zoe, who actually is a Jedi, so selfless, but her captor's a bounty hunter. There's a big difference between a bounty hunter and a Sith, right? In terms of they're both opportunists, they're both out for themselves, but I'd trust a bounty hunter before I would a Sith, right?
Definitely. It's a bounty hunter can at least just be trying to make a living. They don't necessarily need to be a quote unquote bad person.
Yeah.
They're just someone trying to make a living.
Yeah. Wolfton Media says it sounds like Stockholm Syndrome. There are hints of that. And I think that's what Scriber's doing on purpose. Like, so we don't see it full blown. So, and that's good because we can't just describe it, it's just Stockholm Syndrome. Well, no, because he's her best chance at survival if she's got him working with her too, So, but there are almost hints of it too. You kind of think, what's going on here? So I don't know.
And also when she seemed to have a little extra sense going when they were in the dark. In the stable. I'm just wondering if she was somehow feeding off of the orchid's residue within the infected.
Yeah, we're not told, but I mean, she is kind of heightened
right.
connection with it. Even though she hasn't sensed its voice, maybe this is what's heightening her, giving her that night vision, as she says. Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of, she's kind of in tune with it.
Yeah. Looks like, we got Mr. Matt Wilkins joining us tonight. Thank you, Matt. Matt says, I need to reread these books with you. You're making them way more fun. Awesome. Hey, please do. Great to have you. And Matt, if you guys missed it on Matt's channel there last night, he had me on as a guest. And it was a lot of fun. We had a good talk, and he's celebrating his 6,000 subscribers. He's over that now, but he's celebrating. So congratulations to you, Matt. And definitely check out his channel. Yeah. Do check out his channel and give him another subscribe if you haven't already. It's a good, great Star Wars source of Star Wars EU content, as well as commentary on other geek stuff. I know you mentioned.
I subscribed yesterday. I subscribed.
He mentioned he was going to talk about Babylon 5, and that was really cool because that's a coincidence. I've been talking about myself rewatching it and how much I'm just enamored with it again, fresh and new and stuff. All right, so chapter 28, another short little chapter. This is the interesting chapter, right? The last time we saw Lusk, it's a really well-written chapter. And this digs into our themes more of what it is, to be all up for yourself. And then to see this zombie virus that gives you the ultimate power. This is where Lusk is coming from. And Lusk wants that ultimate power for himself. So he stands up, slashing his wrist, come at me, come take me. And it's such a fascinating moment for Lusk. So he feels he's like...
Did you get Venom vibes?
Yeah, a little bit. I didn't think about that, but you're right. I didn't think about it until you mentioned it. But yeah, something like that. So Lusk is having this little conversation with the virus in this moment that it's taking him over, in this moment that it's infecting him. He felt no fear, no sight at any of the others around him, no sense of foreboding, only a sick, dark fascination. I'm looking at my future, he thought, and shivered with anticipation. It was a good future. He realized an endless future, a place of unfathomable possibility. He saw it all now, the rumor that Dark Scabbard, so he figures it all out. The sickness had given him its gift, but it wanted something in return, something crippling and enormous. And now, belatedly, Lusk grasped what it was. The sickness wanted that part of him that made him who he was, that exceptional set of skills and memories and quirks that made him unique. The sickness meant to siphon all of that away so that it could make him part of the greater swelling organism of the dead. The sickness wanted his soul. No, Lust told it. It's too much, even for what you offer. Even for the immortality itself, the price is too high. I will make you the last one, the sickness promised. Of all the others, you alone shall endure. That is what I have to offer you. No. The sickness paused within him, considering. That is too bad, it said, finally, because you no longer have a choice in the matter. Placing his hand over his chest, Lust felt his heart stop beating. All around him, the newly dead were screaming, screaming. He threw back his head and opened his mouth, and he too began to scream. Chilling. I mean, it's chilling because it's in the sense of the zombie thing. But again, like I said, zombie mentality like that, it's quite often used in literature to evoke ideas of the mob mentality. You know, sometimes it's used like to as a straight out commentary against communism itself or some sort of mentality like that. But at the very least, that sort of mob mentality, that kind of herd mentality of just agreeing with everybody else, and that it offers you something. It offers you something, and that's power in numbers, a place to belong, right? A place to be a part of something bigger than yourself. But what does it want in return? Basically your soul, every bit of those parts about you that make you unique, your distinct memories, your distinct skills. And that's not the case of working in a body of people in general, because we see different instances of that. Tolka and Zoe, for example, are both using their distinctive skills and maintaining who they are, but they're working in tandem, at least right now, in this sort of uneasy alliance there. And the Sith are doing it in a different way. We'll see, but that's the themes of the book. It's showing us the different ways, it's exploring different ways of doing this. And the zombies ones are totally checked out mob mentality. It's chilling, definitely.
Please tell me you saw the 70s version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
A long time ago. Can't really remember much about it.
Remember Donald Sutherland at the end?
Oh yeah.
That's what I'm thinking about. That's what I'm like, that scream. And I will say, if anybody is actually not just reading but listening to the audio, it's chilling to hear it. It literally goes right through you.
Yeah, I did the audio once, and John Glover reads it. And when they do the scream of the zombie, they put this effect on his voice, and it's just like, oh, it really, especially if you're listening through headphones,
vibrational. It's like a tuning fork on your spinal cord.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not pleasant. Chapter 29 returns us to our Sith students. They're in the tunnels. Remember, they realize now that they're being walled in, by dead bodies, basically, with the zombies are going to come after them. But they do end up finding a weapons closet. Now, this is good news. they can at least be armed, with something. And it's interesting. Kendra goes in first. There's a, let's see, let me read the part here. And Kendra reached, all right, so Rod had to agree. There are 4 of them, and there are 3 lightsabers in there. Kendra reached past him and grabbed one in each hand, as Rod took the last one for himself. So there are 4 of them. Kendra grabs 2, and Rod grabs 1. And so, think about the Sith mindset here. As Rod took one for himself, he wondered why she'd taken 2 and guessed she was just optimizing her chances of getting a fully functional weapon. Although the power cells were supposed to hold an almost indefinite charge, there was no telling if any of them still worked, or even how long they'd been down there. As often as he trained with them, lightsabers still held an arcane sense of mystery that made them both fascinating and vaguely unsettling, a link to the Sith's ancient past. Rod thumbed the activation plate in his own, brought the blade up. Kendra had switched on both of hers as well. After a moment of comparison, she deactivated both lightsabers. Mags, she said, and tossed him one in her left hand. He caught it effortlessly. Thanks. Hartwig frowned. Hartwig's the one who doesn't have one now. Wait a second. Where's mine? There were only 3. So what? I'm out of luck? Kendra shrugged, and Ra'at realized the other reason she'd grabbed the 2 instead of 1. It had allowed her to decide who carried the 3rd. She had given it to Mags, who, while not the most proficient duelist, was probably the least likely to snap under pressure and take one of their heads off, either by accident or a fit and poor of judgment. Flay that noise, Hartwig said. Flay that noise, Hartwig said. We should draw lots to see who gets the one. Otherwise what? Kendra asked. She was still holding her remaining lightsaber in front of her, regarding Hartwig coldly from behind its blade. You'll leave? Good riddance. It's everyone for themselves anyway. Remember, we're looking at how the Sith handle this idea of communal work and maintaining who they are individually. Hartwig glanced at Kendra with a glint of righteous indignation that Ra'at guessed was eventually going to get him killed. Kendra, however, had already seemed to have lost interest in him. She deactivated the lightsaber, clipped it onto her belt, again eyeing the corridor. Come on, let's keep going. Don't turn your back on me, Hartwig said. Is that a threat? Just a warning. She unclipped the lightsaber. Then I guess I'll just kill you now, won't I? Kendra's arm whipped upward. The blade was already ignited, sweeping up in a lethal blur, halting centimeters from Hartwig's throat. Stepping back, Hartwig glanced over at Mags and saw him waiting to see what would happen. For a long moment, neither of them moved or spoke, and the only sound inside the tunnel was the faint, steady hum of the lightsaber itself. You won't do that, Hartwig said. You need me too much. But that, what he'd obviously intended to be defiant, came out a little more than a strangled-sounding squeak. Kendra didn't answer. She just stood riveted to his gaze. The blade stayed. Kendra started. Shut up. He's right. You saw those things in the hollow. We're outnumbered. We need I'll tell you what I don't need. She still hadn't taken her eyes off Hartwig. I don't need to be constantly looking over my shoulder. She nodded, seeming to decide something in that moment. No, Hartwig, I think I'm going to have to finish your sorry carcass off right now. Hartwig's lip twitched, trying to make words that wouldn't come for what seemed like a long time. Do it then, he rasped. Make your move. Rot's hand slipped downward toward the handle of his own lightsaber. Things were deteriorating even faster than he'd anticipated, yet somehow he wasn't surprised. Perhaps it was better this way. You really want to take sides now, he thought, and for the moment at least, he willed his hand to stay where it was. Guys, Meg said in front of him, you're going to want to see this. It broke off in a sloppy cough and sounded too loose and wet as if it were struggling to keep himself from gagging. Mags whistled. Anybody else smell that? That was how they found the wall. So they're in this moment, so we don't really know what happened, but probably they're, you get the idea that she's distracted from killing Hartwig. But think about what just happened there. Hartwig is indignant. Hartwig is saying, no, my rights, my rights. There's a complete and total lack of self-awareness here. You're in a group of Sith. Each person's out for themselves. And you really want to draw lots? What logical part of your brain thinks your other Sith's companions are going to go, let's do this fairly? I mean, it's like, where are you coming from with that, Hartwig? You're a Sith. And then her fully ready to go ahead and kill him because he's less of a threat to her that way, even though it'd be worse for them as a group. It'd be better for them to have all of them together. So, and Riot talking about their alliance is going to deteriorate, so it's like the polar opposite of the zombie virus communal, completely erase your personalities for the greater good. The Sith are like, can barely hold together any semblance of the greater good because they're all about themselves personally.
Yeah, right.
And then somewhere in the middle is Tolka and Zoe.
Yeah, and you really want to keep Hartwig around because you never know when you might need a little bait.
That's right. Yeah, like Lust throwing Rod at the Nictor that time just to get away. Yeah. So our last chapter for tonight is chapter 30, and this is an interesting moment. This gets at Al's comment there about Dallas, the Nettie, maybe having some sort of link to the virus here. Lord Scabrous had said that he was going to the library, and he goes and he calls down Dallas, the Nettie. And Dallas is pretty terrified. He knows something's going on here. He senses the sickness in Scabrous himself. So you're right, Al, because he's a Nettie and a plant-like kind of being, he's got this sort of sensory perception with the zombie virus, which is created by this Murakami orchid plant. And Scabrous gives him these orders. He says, the Jedi here, she's communicating with the orchid that's still in this sickness. He says, so I want you to call out to her in the voice of the orchid, through the Force, call her in the voice of this orchid to come to the library there. I think it's the library, right? That's where he wants her to come.
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
yeah, for a trap, basically, for Scabrous to encounter her there. And it's interesting as they're talking. Let me try to find it. John. He's feeling the sickness kind of take over him a little bit as he's talking. And
Is it where it goes? I asked if you Scabrous began, and then saw why the tree creature wasn't answering. Is that
yeah. Go ahead and read that part.
a huge chunk of pulp? The Nettie's woody flesh had been ripped out just below its mouth, leaving a hole the size of Scabrous's fist. Thick amber-colored sap dribbled from the wound, oozing down its rough bark, trickling over its branches. Scabrous licked his lips and smiled, still tasting the strange, sticky blood of the tree creature on his tongue and the roof of his mouth. I did that? He marveled. He'd attacked it without the slightest conscious intent. It had been doing that thing within, that mouth. On some intuitive level, he understood that this explained the vast explosion of strength he felt.
Yeah, so the terrifying thing there is that Scabrous is trying to come to a balance between he's got that fresh infusion of blood, and he's saying, how can I use the gifts or stave off this kind of mob mentality virus? And he can't. Even while he's trying to kind of navigate a narrow or a median journey there, he can't do it, because even in the midst of just calmly giving instructions to Dallas, he finishes instructions and realizes, I just totally took a chunk out of his face. That hunger. That's a little horrifying too, the takeover. And poor Dallas, you can't help but to feel sorry for him, even though he's a Sith, he's just a Sith librarian. It's like, how much, what's he really doing there? And he's this old Nettie, and but he's infected now too. Then basically, the Nettie. So
and see, that was actually where I was going. Is like, I'm just wondering what kind of an effect it would have on another planet if we're going to see that. Or
yeah. It's we're gonna, I don't want to ruin it for you.
I know.
We'll find out.
Just
putting it out there,
theorizing.
But it's a really interesting exploration of themes. Like I said, we've got a good building here going, and we don't have too much left of the book. I mean, obviously we've worked up. We're practically to a good climax. I mean, we've got the trap laid for Astizo. All of our players are there now. Both Tolka, Zoe's brother. What's going to happen with these Sith, as well, the students. So we've got a good setting here. I'm trying to discern how many we should read for next time. Let's see acknowledgements. What's that beeping? Was that me? Can you still hear me okay?
I can hear you, yeah.
Oh, it was weird. I heard like a beeping, like I don't know. Let me. Oh,
I love the title of chapter 31, Flesh Blizzard.
So chapter wise, we have, it ends at 46 and we're at 31. Let me see a good halfway, or if we should just read them all. 36 to 41 to 46. It's not a lot. I mean, I wouldn't mind reading them. Well, I guess it is. I wouldn't mind reading them all. It's up to you though, Al. What do you think? You want to divide it into two or just read them all?
I think we should divide it into two.
Okay. Al's always aiming for less homework.
What? Well, I mean, ultimately, it is up to you. I mean, up to you. But I
asked your opinion, though. Yeah. No worries.
Let's see, 158.
The problem is 37 is this long chapter. Let me see how that looks. 37 till next time, though. I don't think we got a lot there. I don't know. If we divide it into two, it's like we don't really have much. Maybe what we'll do is this. We might not get all the way through the end next time, but
you want to just go to the end?
I'm just going to read all of it and be prepared to go to the end if we get there. Because I'm looking at like a halfway point. And I'm like, well, that won't take us but like 15 minutes, So I don't know. Can you? Do you mind going all the way?
If you ask me to go all the way, I'll go.
Wow, that went weird.
What?
well, remember that you don't have to do the reading for the last battle next week because we missed our Bible study this time. So
that's true. Yeah,
this is all your reading you have to do.
That opens up a whole day.
That's true. So, all right, we're going to finish out the book.
After all that work I did on my,
I know your cool avatar. I know. Yeah. So we'll finish out the book next week. That's exciting. So that'll be cool. Mm-hmm. We'll finish out the book. Oh, I know what happened. My that beeping sound I heard was my camera popping out and on. I had my book laying on the cord.
Oh,
So let me fix that. That's where I went. I can fix that real quick. But this is Thursday night. So next Thursday, of course, we'll do that. What is going on here? All right, unplug it, plug it in. All right, that should work. I don't know why. There we go. I'm back. Okay. So Thursday night, tomorrow night, there's no Fan Man tonight. No Fan Man and his Fantastic Friends or whatever tomorrow night. And I toyed with the idea of possibly doing a rewatch. We could possibly rewatch Superman versus the Elite, or I'm open to, if people want to get more along the game of Knights of the Old Republic, I'm happy to do a bit of a game stream tomorrow night as well, if people would prefer that. So up to you guys in the chat, or maybe I'll do a poll or something on my YouTube. I haven't done polls yet. That's like the thing now. Everybody's doing polls because it like helps your algorithm, and it's getting kind of ridiculous because like people are like, what's your favorite ice cream flavor? You know, it's like, come on, could you guys be any more transparent and needy? You know, but this would serve a purpose to see if people would rather do a rewatch tomorrow, or a Knights of the Old Republic gaming stream again, and I will continue on.
If you do that, I'm ready to go. I've got it. So
okay. So we'll see what people want here. Let's see. Sound Engraver says, my 7-year-old student spoiled the kaiju movie during lessons. I told her not to, but she did. I won't say anything. Kaiju fans are almost as bad as anime fans. They just can't shut up and not talk about their bliss.
I have not said anything.
Not you. You're good. You asked me to. You kind of wanted to. But you didn't.
I wanted to ask you earlier. Have you seen it yet? Have you seen it yet?
I really do need to see it because people are asking for me to do a video on it, and if I wait too much longer, it's going to be what's the point? So I need to watch it in the next night or two.
I want everyone to realize I did a video on Godzilla versus Kong before The Professor, which is almost unheard of.
Well, I've never wanted to do
video to boost a year.
I'm never one to do videos on things as soon as they come out, you know. Once or twice I've done like a post-theater reaction or something, but
yeah. Well, I wanted to do my little review, so it's not so much a review as it is a free-flowing thought opinion.
But honestly,
but it's still a review technically.
The excitement for the movie kind of got killed for me because I saw the trailers, and I'm just a really big Kong fan. The movies building up to this and really gotten me invested in Kong. And I saw the trailer, I was like, that's so cool. And I did my video about Kong, this and that. And then people just came out of the woodworks like, Godzilla's cool too. Godzilla. It was like, shut up, guys. Shut up. It sucked the fun out of it for me, honestly.
Ignore everyone.
I'm sure I like the movie, but it's one of the reasons
even outside of that. This is Kong's movie.
That's cool.
Kong is the primary protagonist. He is the one on who the audience follows. All
right. Well, that's, like you say, he's the protagonist then. So
and I think that, to its credit, I think that was a very smart thing, because in my review I mentioned, it's like, well, an ape, a human will sympathize with an ape more than a reptilian. Mm-hmm. But Godzilla, Godzilla's
like a bunch of Godzilla fanboys like, no, he's an amazing hero. Like, shut up, guys. Come on, shut up. I didn't say anything bad about him. Oh,
Godzilla's fine. Godzilla has a purpose, but this is Kong's movie. This is Kong. Cool. He's the soul of this film.
I did do that video when the trailer first dropped, and I was saying that, is Kong going to be the aspirational hero that Marvel and DC just don't want to give us anymore? So if it's Kong's movie, I do need to go ahead and watch it and talk about it. So I do a follow up to that video. Mm-hmm. So I will. But next week, finishing out Red Harvest. What's going on Saturday, Al? Is that your channel or Nanette's?
Saturday is mine, and it is the first movie in April Foolishness, and it is Weird Al Yankovic's UHF. We
That's,
got
that's a
it
classic.
all on UHF.
That's a
I just,
classic.
yeah, I'm looking forward to it. It's awesome.
I dearly
I
love that film.
got Troy Ned, of course, and I am going to be joined by Daniel Heron, the Birdman himself, and Agent Boomer. It's going to be a great collection of people watching. But yes, that is the first of the April Foolishness, and 2 weeks. In 2 weeks, we're going to have another one, and that's going to be The Great Outdoors, John Candy and Dan Aykroyd.
Another good one.
Another real good one.
Cool. So, yeah, that's stuff coming up. Of course, Tuesday we will come back on the Catholic Bible Geek channel to Last Battle. We had to miss this week. I just schedules are mixed up and stuff like that. But be back next.
I hate that frickin' ape.
He means shift, not Kong.
Yeah, I love that ape. I love Kong.
Yep. So it's
Shit.
cool.
What a perfect name for him.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. Well, C.S. Lewis does a lot with him, even in those first few chapters we'll talk about. That's pretty good. So that's all for tonight, folks. Thanks for hanging out with us. And we're going to finish up Red Harvest next week. And then we will look at, as I said, the next books we're going to do is the Darth Bane trilogy. But I might take a break to try to finish up Knights of the Old Republic, the storyline for people, because I've been letting that kind of linger and stretch out for a while just due to schedule. So I might take a couple of weeks and do that. I don't know. I just bumped my camera cord again.
Because if certain things happen, I might be busy in the next few weeks.
No problem.
I'll let you know after what's going on.
Okay, cool. But that's all for now. Until next time, Till next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the hero stories you love, and I will see you next week.
Did you want a pancake covered with syrup after what happened to the Nettie?